welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about naked mentalism and psychological subtleties. A fellow by the name, and I'm sure this isn't his real name, but he goes by Dreams, asked me to review this book. I really love, I will say this, the material that's in these books, Psychological Subtleties and Naked Mentalism, the style of mentalism that's presented here, the types of effects that are presented here are probably in every mentalist repertoire, but not overly so. I remember going to a Bob Cassidy lecture, and he opened with a psychological subtlety, if you will, something that's referred to in naked mentalism. He opened by asking the audience a question. This is one of the ways that I think you hedge your bets if you're going to do this kind of magic. Rather than ask a single person, ask the whole audience. I remember sitting there. Bob Cassidy, one of the great masters of mentalism. I'm sitting there, and Bob is asking me, he's telling me he's going to project a thought into my mind. And I am telling you that image just appeared in my mind. And when he said, this is what I'm thinking of, and I realized that I was thinking of the exact same thing, that was a moment of magic. That was a moment of pure, unadulterated magic. Here's the thing about that kind of magic. Bob Cassidy wrote nothing down. I wrote nothing down. What he said is, I'm going to think of something, I'm going to project it to your mind. It's that simple. It's that pure. That's the kind of magic that's described in this book and in these books right here. So, I think if you're doing mentalism, now I can't imagine how this fits into a traditional magician's repertoire, but maybe it does. Maybe it does fit. I certainly do. As a mentalist, I do traditional magic. I really do. So there's crossover both ways. Maybe you find a place for it in your repertoire if you don't already do it. Let me share with you by the way, this is Naked Mentalism by Jon Thompson. I believe this book is $55. I think it's worth it. I really do, because a lot of the material that's alluded to in here is elaborated on in here. You get more details in here than you get in here, even though there's 3 volumes. I think BANACHEK is more concerned with giving you routines, telling you how this material fits into performance, whereas he's a little more concerned about giving you the material that you can build the routines out of. Does that make sense? So I think that this is an excellent companion volume to these. But they're excellent. By the way, Psychological Subtleties 1, Psychological Subtleties 2, Psychological Subtleties 3, just fantastic material if you're a devoted mentalist. So, this is from the ad copy for Naked Mentalism. This book represents a new departure in the field of mentalism. I'm not sure that's true. I think Dunninger was doing this stuff. I do. But he says it's a new departure in the field of mentalism. The techniques it contains will enable you to perform impromptu without the usual tools, techniques, and compromises. You could, if you wish, perform naked to prove there's no subterfuge. Track a spectator's thought process as she makes choices, harness psychological forces, turn misses into hits, perform book tests for complete strangers, even over the phone. Above all, replace the intuition of the psychic with solid models of the world that give hit rates far higher than the real thing can ever hope to accomplish. I think that's an accurate description. I really do, but I want to give you this one warning. I was doing a number of routines out of Psychological Subtleties to great effect to audiences that were more or less my age. Then I started doing some shows at some retirement centers, and the audience there was what I would call a war era audience. In other words, they were World War II veterans, World War II era people. and the commonalities between my generation and theirs weren't exactly equivalent. I'll give you an example. I asked the audience to think of a murderer. To think of a murderer. Now, if you ask BANACHEK, or if you ask Jon Thompson to think of a murder, they're going to give you a different list than someone that came out of the 1930s and 40s. When I did billets, by the way. I did billets. I collected billets. When I read the billets later, because I wondered why when I delivered the goods, it didn't have the effect that I anticipated. I went back and I read the billets. Every single one of them, every single billet listed one person only, and that name was Hitler. Hitler. So, you know, if I'm going to do that again for the same audience, of course, the force is going to be Hitler, but it wasn't at the time. So that's a learning experience, folks. This material is going to be weighted or slanted one way or the other depending on your audience and your audience experience. Not every audience has the same experience. Not every audience has the same associations. You need to know your audience if you're going to do this kind of material. All right, psychological subtleties. Let me read to you some of the descriptions that have been ad copy for psychological subtleties. In this long-awaited new book, BANACHEK reveals the true secret of his success. I think the secret of his success is that he works really hard. He's a really great mentalist. That's the secret of his success, okay? Psychological subtleties that transform mental magic into psychic entertainment. Most of the effects require no advanced preparation and may be performed at a moment's notice. Another thing BANACHEK is great at is contact mind reading. You know, he's fantastic. He's got great skills to enable him to do fantastic mentalism without any preparation, props, or pre-show or anything like that. BANACHEK is brilliant. Now this I'm reading, this is a quote from Teller. BANACHEK is brilliant at subtle deceptions. My partner Penn and I have repeatedly called upon his vast knowledge, diabolical ingenuity, and remarkable imagination, and have never been disappointed. This man has the goods, and now you do too. But be careful. This is a very dangerous book. In the wrong hands, these subtle, deeply devious methods could be used to convince audiences that the performer is not an artist, but a supernatural being. I think that might be a little hyperbole, but the point's well taken. This is great material. I suggest that you read at least Psychological Subtleties Volume 1. Get this to supplement, and he even says, if you look inside, he references Psychological Subtleties heavily, so he knows that he's drawing from BANACHEK's work. By the way, I think, and I could be wrong, so I hope I'm not getting this wrong, but I think BANACHEK invented the method for the bullet catch that Penn and Teller are using. I think that's a BANACHEK idea. A lot of material out there that's would be considered standard in the mentalism field has come from BANACHEK. He really is a genius. So dreams, I hope you've enjoyed this. I certainly enjoyed doing it. Thank you so much for asking. If you've not done so already, please subscribe down below. Please comment. I love your comments. Thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone.